everyone, Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters. So this is take 2 on this video because for some reason the uploaded one didn't seem to have a voiceover. So I'm sorry if I don't have all the information in this one. I will tell you as much as I remember as we're going along. Hopefully I remember most of it. So as you saw in those first little photos, I am creating a few different cards to gift to Katie for her advent calendar. So I'm starting off by cutting the front piece, the coloured piece that's going to go on the front of this card, and cutting out a few little holes. And these are going to be little hidey holes that the puppy or the cat can stick its head through, because I'm going to be using a stamp that is of a little cat or a little puppy. All of these cards are featuring the same stamp set. So I'm just cutting out a few of these, making a little bit of Swiss cheese, so to speak. And then I've zoomed in a little bit so that you can see a little bit better what's happening with the actual card making process. So I've got my piece of cards and everything already pre-cut out and ready to go. So I'm just going to back each of the holes with a little piece of the same coloured cardstock as what's going to be the main card itself. And that's also what I'm going to stamp the images onto also. I hope that makes sense. You will see as we go along, of course, what's happening. So here is the really cute little stamp set that I will be using for all of these cards today. And this little number was just purchased off eBay. I'm sure it was not very expensive. Knowing me, it was probably, under $2. And I was a little bit skeptical as to how well this would stamp. Like it might be a little bit blurry or a little bit wishy-washy when you stamp with it, but I was pleasantly surprised with this stamp set. So I am using a cheap stamp, a cheap block, but reasonably good ink, which obviously does make a big difference the better quality ink you use as well. So I'm just having a bit of a play there with which of the really gorgeous little figures I want to use in the holes, and I decided that I want them all to be the same animal species. So I either want them to be all cats or all dogs. So I've chosen the little cat that I want to use, and I've just got my little teardrop Mementos black ink there. And I am going to be stamping that onto each of my cardstock that's going to be going behind the circle. So I did not do a tester, as you saw. I just straight away did it. I didn't stamp off. I didn't do anything. That was literally the first time the stamp had touched anything. It had not been washed. It had not been anything. And you can see there that it's actually worked quite beautifully. So I'm quite impressed with how well these stamps have worked with very little pre-prep or anything like that happening to them. So I'm just placing these little fat cats on the little cardstock. I think I'm choosing not to use that top circle because it's a little bit small. So now I'm just running my little glue around each of the holes so I know that the cardstock will fill the gaps, and I'm doing that from obviously the front side so that I can make sure that the little cat is placed the way I want it to be inside the hole. Now it doesn't matter if I'm sticking a little bit outside the edge because I can just trim that down once everything is stuck and in the right place. So I just pop that aside to dry for a little minute, and I get my little piece of burgundy, and I just punch out a few little hearts. As I said earlier, I had these cards planned out already as to what I was going to do and how they were going to look so that I could make the making process as quick as possible. This video as it is already goes for quite a long time because I make so many cards and every single one of them is different. I wanted to show you the process for them all. So imagine how much longer it would take if I was then going to get supplies in between as well. I would have been here forever. So I found that the actual making process was reasonably quick considering the number of cards and the different things that I was using. So I did notice when I made these that the one thing I am lacking the most is sentiments. So I had very, very few sentiments that I was going to choose from for these ones, and I possibly should have left them with no sentiment and let Katie put her own sentiments on, but I didn't, so off we go. I'm not sure what all of these stamps or where all of these stamps are from. Some of them, this one in particular, is just been given to me by another lady from her stash, so I've got not a clue. It could be a really super expensive stamp. It could be the cheapest stamp you'll ever find in your life. I'm sorry, I don't know. But it worked reasonably well. I do have a Kmart stamp that I use later on in the video, and it's awful. I just can't get those to stamp nicely no matter how hard I try. They all seem to smudge and blur and just sort of bleed a little bit. So yeah, I definitely don't recommend buying that one, and I will let you know which one it is when it comes up. So I am now just sticking that front page onto another colour just to give this card a little bit of pop. So it's like a border around the edging of this little bit. So that's not the actual card, it is just a nice little frame, a nice little extra added border just to go on to the card set, just to make it pop a little bit better. But that is the card there in that cream colour. So the card itself will be on the same backing as what I was stamping on originally. I chose to make these cards cream because I don't have plain white cardstock that doesn't have any texture on it. And you don't necessarily have to have cardstock without textures for card making, but I wanted to. So in that case, I decided to go with cream because that was the next sort of nondescript colour that I had, or neutral colour that I had, that had no texture. So bang this one on here. And pow, first card is done. On to my second card. So still going with cats this time. I do move on to puppies soon, but still heading with the cat look, the cat idea. I had decided to have a little bit of a play with the accessories that come with this as well this time. So popping on a little bow tie because it's so cute. And I think in a minute I pull out some Wink of Stella, possibly. Is it coming? Oh, no, I'm just using a normal texter. So this is a connector pencil, a connector texter from the Faber-Castell, I think. I'm just going to duck to my scrap desk and double check. But they are not, yes, Faber-Castells. They are not fancy-dancy stamp colouring textures or anything like that. They are connector pens from Faber-Castell. So they're just what I had in my drawer. I am not an expert when it comes to colouring in stamps. I don't do a fantastic job of it, if I say so myself, but I just found doing a really light sort of edging and highlighting certain areas worked really, really well for me. And I did pull out the little Wink of Stella in the sparkly colour and just coloured in his bow tie. So you can see there, I'm literally just ripping a hole in the middle of the card and then using my fingers to roll the scraps of paper so it looks like the cat's sort of torn through the centre of the picture. And you need to rip a surprisingly big hole. I thought it would not need to be that big, but it needs to be a lot bigger than I expected it to be. So ripping away and rolling the paper just to make a nice little cute effect there. You know, it's very cat-like to rip a hole in something, I feel. It could be dog-like too. I decided that the paper was a little bit too rolly. I wanted it to be more haggard and sticking out, so I then unrolled them a little bit to have the sort of scrunched up look, which I quite liked. So then putting most of the glue sort of around the circle edge there and popping that down onto the card, and of course trimming off that excess because I don't need that. And just a few of the bigger parts because I didn't actually stick that part down onto the card, I only stuck around the circle. And just messing up that edge a little bit more just to make it look better, and then popping it again onto a base just to give it a bit of a frame and to help lighten it up. And then another sentiment. I really love these sentiments, and I know being a Heidi Swap stamp that it's going to be a good quality stamp, but unfortunately I couldn't make a lot of these fit with the kind of stamp I had made. Well, I didn't think they did anyway. To me, I just had envisioned a lot of these stamps being for Christmas presents or birthday presents, and not so much for thank you cards or what have you. But that one's gorgeous, and I think that stamp works particularly well with this card. So I'm really happy with this card and how it turned out. So hopefully Katie needs to give a thank you card to someone, because I think this one's really cool. So just popping this down onto the cardstock to give it that boost, that frame, just the same as with the last one. And again, I am actually making the card out of that cream colour that I stamped onto, just so it all ties in together. So the stamped section ties in with the rest of the card. Now I don't, just in case you're wondering, I don't put anything inside my cards. They stay blank. You could put a whole nother sentiment, again, stamped inside your card, especially if you know that you yourself, if you're making them for yourself, or you're gifting them to someone who doesn't particularly enjoy writing in cards. Sometimes card writing is hard, and having a sentiment in there is helpful because it takes up a little bit of room and it says the things that you wanted it to say. But I don't. I left them plain so that Katie could use them the way she would like. So just popping on a few blue rhinestones just because they're cute. And now onto card number 3. So this one is going to be a birthday card or a celebrations card. And I am going to get out the puppies this time. And you can see that I've used a few different, I've got a few things from my stash, not a huge amount, but just a couple. I've got the 2 balloons, and I also have a frame. Now, if you were someone that had supplies, like I know that my sister has a die that in the shape of a balloon and a stamp for balloon stamping, so you could do all of this from things that you have at home. I don't have those supplies, but I did happen to have, or knew that I did happen to have, ephemera in my stash that I could work with. So I have a little, that actual stamp that I've, sort of yellow one that's to the right of my top right of the cardstock I'm working on. It is actually supposed to be a streamer, I think, that happened to come on the Happy Birthday Sentiment stamp set, and I just thought it would work really perfectly for being the string of my balloon. If I didn't use that, I probably would have used real string, real life string, but I am happy using that streamer because I think that's clever. I wanted to put my sentiment at the bottom of my frame, so I just had to see what was going to fit and not be too large and not like overpower what was happening in this picture. So the frame's going to go on there and the 2 balloons are going to stick out the side. So I just need to work out placing so that I know that I'm putting my string in the right spot and that it's actually going to match up and not be sticking too far out to the side or what have you. So pop those down and then I can stick those on. I feel like obviously a voiceover is important with a video like this because it's quite a long time and it'd be quite boring to sit there with nothing. But I also think sometimes that the video is a little bit self-explanatory and I could have just put music or what have you. So if I'm not telling you the things that you want to know, please feel free to ask me questions or to pop, you know, comments or what have you down in the comment section below, because without your feedback I'm not 100% sure what it is you want to hear. I know you probably want to know where that original stamp set came from and I don't know. But yes, this one that I'm using now is from eBay, and I might just have a look on my eBay right now while I'm voiceovering with you to see if I can find the link for it, and if I can, I will put that in the description box for you as well so that you can you know, look into purchasing it yourself if that's something that you are interested in also. So as you can see, I want to make sure the puppies fit inside the frame because it's like a little photo booth. They're in their own little photo booth taking a picture of themselves. How adorable is that? And I realized when I started this that I actually would like heights. So I was thinking about mixing the dogs and the cats because a lot of the cats were a little bit taller, and I realized that having different heights would have been perfect for this section in particular, because otherwise they end up all at the same height and like being just right down along the bottom, which is a little bit sad. But I just went with it and used what I could, because that's what we do, isn't it? What else can I tell you? Oh, getting out my just my Faber-Castells connectables again. Nothing, nothing fancy, nothing, specific to crafting, just a normal colouring in texture. But it works well for what I'm doing, so I'm happy with that. What else can I tell you? Not a lot. I'm just sort of colouring in here. I know I feel like I should be talking to you, but I'm not really sure what to tell you because it's pretty self-explanatory. I choose when I'm colouring in to just highlight certain areas and sort of make certain I'm not making sense now. It doesn't I don't colour the whole entire thing and make it overwhelming. I just highlight certain bits and pieces that are key aspects, I suppose, of the picture. So I have found the stamp that I bought. It's not 100% necessarily from the same person I bought it from. I'm not 100% sure who I bought it from, but it was $2.59 with free postage according to this particular eBay website. So I will link that in the description box for you so that you, if you are interested, you can check it out. If you are not, you can just ignore that section of the description box. No drama. I am not selling or promoting or anything like that. It is not, it's of no affiliation to me whatsoever. I get absolutely nothing out of letting you know. I just know that some people are interested, so I'm just putting it out there. And now I am moving on back to what I'm doing here in this video. I am doing a very fiddly process of trying to put dimensionals foam behind the frame because the frame is so thin. It was quite a challenge to get it in the right sections, and we're off, we're gone, we're done with that video. I do have photographs at the end, close-ups, to actually show you the finished cards. I'm just really conscious of how ridiculously long this video is becoming, and I haven't finished all of my cards yet. So this one is probably my least favourite of all the cards that I've made. The idea was gorgeous, but I didn't quite have the right supplies, I think, or quite the right bits and pieces in my head. I knew how I wanted it to look in my head, and it just didn't quite work out in real life. But hopefully Katie likes it, and it's, it works for what she is using it for, as a gift for someone, as just a little note. This one's more like a little note card. It just says hello on it, so it can be just a happy mail card if she so desires. So as you saw, I got my big shot and just cut out a circle, and then I'm going to put the big hello all the way across there. And I'm going to use a couple of the little hangy cats in this one, the sort of peekaboo cats that come in the set. There's a few pictures of just sort of cat heads or dog heads, like they're picking up and over something, and I thought I could actually utilize those in this card. So I do grab a couple of those out for this one. So, sticking down, it's amazing, when I'm doing the voiceover, I notice there's a few bits and pieces that I could have cut out to make this process quicker for you guys watching, like sticking down and everything. But then to edit all of that out of every single one of these cards would have taken me a century. So I end up leaving quite a lot of the actual process of making in. So hopefully you're someone that just pops these videos on in the background and just scraps away with my mindless voice chatting away to you. Hopefully the sound of my voice is not too unpleasant today. I feel like I'm a little bit out of it. We had quite a morning this morning. Just a piece of unimportant trivia. My little man had his first accident today. Did quite a good job. We had to go to emergency for the first time, and we have got 4 stitches. He was very brave. No real tears or carrying on until the end, when everything was finally over, and I think he just felt a bit of relief and a bit of like taken his toll from all the excitement and that everything had been going on and the strange places that we were and all the people checking him out and poking and prodding him and all of that. So it's quite overwhelming, but that happened really early this morning, and I was really impressed with how quickly we got in and out of emergency, which is amazing. So the hospital there was just brilliant, and hopefully we are not back for the next 18 years at least. That would be awesome. Wishful thinking, but awesome. So I decided that this card needed something, so I just grabbed a little sort of greeny blue colour pen in a similar tone to what the hello is written, just to add a little bit of a doodle border or a dotty border around. They're actually little crosses. I really should never doodle border. I really am never happy when I do it. I just feel it ends up looking messy. I'm not, yeah. Anyway, as I said, this is my least favourite, but that's okay. Moving on. Little bit of rhinestones, that always helps everything. So I pop those on as well. And I think, excuse my yawning, pardon me, I think I am just about to put this one to the side and not think about it again, because I know that I'm not thrilled with how it's turned out. And I've got to be getting close. This might be the last one, I think. Based on the timing of the video, yes, this should be the last one. And then you'll have some close-ups at the end, so you can get a better look as to how these cards turned out close up. Also, if you watch Katie's reveal videos, she probably showed them to you close up also. So this one, I ended up just freehanding this sort of cloud formation. I tried tracing it, I tried drawing it, I tried a numerous amount of things and just wasn't happy with it, so I just went bang and cut it out. It's not really anything. You'll see how I use it in a sec, so I know that makes no sense. I'm doing the sort of peak hole thing, the same as in the first card, but I just wanted like a bit of a different feel and look to the picture. So I ended up making this sort of cloud shape. It doesn't need to be a cloud, it could be anything. I just felt that because I was doing peepholes out of circles, having the rounded edges like a cloud has is a little bit softer. So a little bit of a nicer way to cut the shape out, like you didn't want really harsh corners or really harsh sides. Now, I almost ran out of room for that next circle, and I really should have moved that middle circle down and across a little bit, but, you know, hindsight. I could have used different sizes like I did with the very first stamp, but I didn't. It fitted. We just managed. So going to pop my puppies again onto the cream paper. Again, just moving in so you can see what I'm doing. To go behind the circle pop outs. So little, I don't know my dogs. Is that like a Dasher Hound or a Scottish dog of some description? I don't know. I should stop talking because I have no clue. I am not a dog person at all. Oh, look at my buff head. Sorry. Move, Jess. Move your head. No one wants to see your head. Gosh. That looks like a poodle. Surely that's a poodle. It's a bit tall. Oh, I don't know. So I'm going to add my little bit of fanciness to these ones with the textures again. I think I'm doing just a really small amount on these ones, just highlighting sort of one particular thing, I think. So like the collar, the bow. Possibly I end up doing more. Sometimes I get a bit carried away. Can't help myself. I have initial ideas and then I'm like, oh, that looks cute. Just keep going. And the next thing you know, you've coloured 3/4 of the whole thing in. But no, I did. Oh no, look, I'm back. See? I just can't help myself. Noses. This time noses. They've all got the same colour nose. Have I stopped now? Oh no, I'm back. See, I just can't help myself. I am sort of just going around the edge there, at least. I'm not trying to colour in as such, just highlighting the areas at the edge. But who knows? I keep telling you I'm going to stop, and then I do more and more and more. Oh, I do like that little eye, though. It's got a little patch. So cute. Surely I'm finished now. Come on. Oh my gosh, I'm back again. What are you doing? Don't ruin it. Okay, I'm done now. So now I am going to cut them. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I fussy cut them. Yeah, so just fussy cutting roughly around the edge. Not 100% perfect, but just enough that it looks like I've done a beautiful job, but not enough that it can be done quickly enough, if that made sense. I used the word enough a lot in that sentence. So yeah, just cutting out these, and they're going to poke up and through the little holes like they're playing peekaboo. I really should have edited some of this out. I do apologise. This has all been kept in because all you're seeing is my elbow. I don't even know what I'm doing over there at the rubbish bin. I really don't have much to tell you about fussy cutting. If you are not very good at fussy cutting, a tip of mine would be keeping the paper right down the end of your scissors and moving the paper and holding your scissors still. It hurts your fingers less because you're not opening and closing to make cut motion. You're just sort of holding still with the scissors hand. Small scissors are nice, and sharp scissors are nice. I often clean the blades of my scissors, not sharpen them as such, but just clean the stickiness off from cutting tape or what have you with eucalyptus oil, just to keep them nice and smooth and easy to use in the open and close motion. I don't know if you needed to know any of that, but some people find it interesting. So they're going to go sticking out of those little holes a little bit higgledy-piggledies. That's why I haven't stuck down the cloud yet, because I want to make sure they're placed in the right spot. So just popping on my double-sided tape on the back of the little cloud, trying to get it around a little bit so that I know it will stay placed, but I need to be able to pick up the center so that I can put the little puppies in and under. So I haven't really stuck it very well because I want to be able to slide my puppies under. So there they go in, and I really love that purple paper that's behind. It's a really old collection or piece from, I want to say We Are Memory Keepers, but that could be wrong. No, I can't think of who it's from, but something really old. One of those really old school, and they're probably still around. It's just a really old collection. This one now that I'm using, this is the Kmart stamp that I was mentioned earlier that just bleeds every single time. So I really need to stop using it. I cannot get it to stamp without bleeding. If anyone has a tip on how to use stamps that are not so amazing and not have them smudge and bleed, that would be awesome. And back to me, what I was talking about with these ones. I don't know which company it is, but it's one of those companies that's like a Tupperware or a Stamping Up type company. But it's an old thing of theirs. So if you know what I'm talking about, just smile and nod at my vagueness, because I'm not really sure. So popping on a few little rhinestones, and then I am finished, and I will show you some close-ups of how super cute these cards turned out. Here we go. So I have got, one more card to go. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So I'm not finished. I thought I was finished. I thought that purple one was the last one. Oh, sure it was the last one. Okay, so in this one, I am using a lot of the little accessories because I felt like they had not been used yet. And I am creating my own sort of background. So again, I am cutting out a few bits and pieces. I'm wondering what I'm doing because I'm off screen. I'm obviously doing something super important just to leave you sitting here off screen for so long. My editing has been woeful. I apologize. Goodness me. I must have been in a real rush to get this made and put up. And I should have probably edited it now while I'm re-voiceovering, but after my hectic day today, I'm just too tired. So cutting out some little circles again, like that whole Swiss cheese thing, like I did with the first video. I really like that technique, and I'm taking full advantage of it with these cards. But I am using them all in a slightly different way, which I think is important when you're doing something. It gets a little bit boring and a little bit repetitive, even for yourself, if you do every card the same all the time. So just cutting out these little holy holes, and then this sort of coffee stained paper I am going to decorate using the accessory part of the stamps. My Big Shot is brand new, by the way, so my dies are getting a little bit stuck in the plastic because I have not used it at all yet. So again, this is the stamp set that just smudges every time, that I'm not impressed with. So that says thinking of you, and I'm just stamping that on to become its own little banner. It looks fine, but it's not crisp. You want a stamp to be crisp, and it's not crisp. It just sort of bleeds a little bit within the on the paper. And I've used a variety of paper, so it's not the paper, it's the stamp. And it's not the ink, because I've used the ink this whole time and it's been fine. It's the stamp, I tell you. So with this banner, I've just cut the ends out, the little triangles out of the ends to make the gorgeous little flag, but then I just fold it over just to give it a little bit of something, a little bit of difference, a little bit of pop, a little bit of lift, just because I thought that was a cute way to enhance the way that this card looks. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm really tired. So it's going to go across the center there. And I'm thinking as well about how long this video is going to take to load up for you. It is probably not going to go up until the 16th by the time it loads, but I'm sure you guys will forgive me. It technically is already up. The 15th, the video for the 15th is up, but it has no voice, and that's a little bit boring to watch. So I've just put on tennis balls, and now I'm putting on some bones, and just stamping those higgledy-piggledy all over the place, and now putting on bones that are full, not the outline. And I'm just covering the page as much as I can. Oh, not as much as I can, because that would look weird, but filling in a lot of the gaps that I can using these sort of accessories for this stamp set. So almost done, just filling in any of the little sort of really open spaces where I feel it's lacking a few spots, and just popping in those. Lovely, one more ball. And then I put those back, and I think I realised I missed the paw prints. I think that might be coming up. I'm pretty sure I get the paw prints out as well, because I think I missed using the paw print. And you know, that's cute. You don't have to, but I noticed that the flap wouldn't be stuck down properly, so I did put a little bit of double-sided tape underneath the flap on the front side just to make it sit flat. And then I'm just sort of popping that relatively center. I'm a little bit particular, but this paper is a little bit on the thin side, so I couldn't be too perfect with my placement. And it's going to go straight onto the card. No backing with this one, but it is going to be on foam, so it is popped up a little bit. And this foam roll that I'm using here is from the reject shop, and you can see that it's really easy just to tear and rip and maneuver that way. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a little bit flimsy, but it just made this kind of thing a lot easier to fiddle around with than trying to cut it all the time. As I said, the paper I'm using is the thinner type of paper. It's not a proper cardstock, and that has been a little bit fiddly to work with as well. So this must be when I realised I didn't use the paw print. Oh no, it's still not. Okay, popping on my animal stamps. I didn't want to stick the paper down because I didn't want to accidentally stamp the paper. But then I realised that getting the puppies in the right spot was really, really hard without having the paper there. So I think in a minute I just stick it down anyway, because I think it's been too challenging to try not to stamp on top of it. Or I might just keep working around. I'm covering the stamp there because I keep getting distracted by the cats, because the cats are super cute. But I've used the puppy accessories, so it needs to be puppies. Oh, so silly. Oh yeah, see, I am moving it, but I've got it a bit stuck, so I'm really challenging myself here to make sure I stamp it in the right place. Because of that thinking of you flag, I wanted the legs of the puppy to be underneath that, and yes, but I didn't want, to cut his face off by accident. I think I managed most of these okay, but it was a little bit fiddly. You could possibly draw the outline of your circles onto your cardstock so you had a better idea as to where, in a light grey lead or something, to where the circles were, and then just quickly buff them off with an eraser. Especially if you draw them lightly, you wouldn't be able to tell anyway. Or you can do what I'm doing. Look, I did manage it. It was totally fine. It was just a little bit fiddly. Everything I do is, I think, the hard way, but we got there in the end. So I am now packing up, so I must be done. Popping the stamps away, and then I am going to stick on the front of my card. I'm a bit of a tidy as I go scrapper, otherwise my desk just gets way too messy, and I cannot cope. My scrap room is open plan. It's a walk. It's sort of a walkthrough from the kitchen through to the laundry, through to the toilet, through to the back room. So I need to make it sort of clean 99% of the time. So here is that card we were just working on there, which is super cute. And the hello, and the little cloud puppies, and the thankful with the ripped out cat, and then that very first one. And I do also have photographs as well of the close-ups, just to make it a little bit clearer and easier for you to see how they turned out. So hopefully you liked watching this super long tutorial. I apologise that it went for so long and that you had to listen to me rave on for such a long amount of time. But I'm really super happy with the way these cards turned out, and how good the stamp set was that I was using, the cats and dogs stamp set. It's really cute. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Bye guys, have a great night.